You may have heard that not all heroes wear capes. Some wear John Deere hats. I happen to agree with that, which is why today's cake is dedicated to my favorite John Deere hat-wearing hero, my dad. Hi friends, my name is Sherry, right? And this is Every Cake Tells a Story, where we learn how to decorate together and love others through cake art. Because as I decorate, we'll get to know the individual this cake is dedicated to. Today, it's my dad. He's an amazing, supportive dad. He's always ready to help out and go the extra mile. He recently had a couple major milestones pass by without too much fanfare. He's pretty legendary and a great hero. But let's get right to it. Let's learn how to make this cake and get to know my dad better. Come on. The first tractor my dad ever drove was a John Deere Model A. I'll make that for the cake topper. I've got the basic shape already done. Now I'll start carving out the body for the driver and the engine. It's important to note that I've added Tylose powder, also known as CMC, to my green fondant. It basically makes the fondant thicker, and it's going to help my tractor body to harden faster and hold its shape. Time to add some of those hoses, pipes, and wires. The Model A has a gap in the tractor frame, exposing parts of the engine. I'm going to focus on this part of the engine since these pieces are bigger. The Tylose powder will help the top part stay in place so it doesn't crush all those fine details. This looked like a big gap to work with until I had to start wiggling those pieces in there. Nope, that's a tiny work area. Add a drop of water to glue it. I'm using parchment paper on my counter today because I'm taking every precaution to make sure my tractor doesn't stick to the counter as it dries. Can you imagine spending all the time to make it, then not being able to pry it off? I would cry. It also means I don't need powdered sugar to roll things out. I don't know what any of the tractor parts are called, so I'm going to come up with all my own names as I make this tractor. Let's add a conductor rod to give it more color. Creative freedom. I like it! I've got to add this circle now. It's the blinker fluid tank. Then the base for the seat. I grew up convinced my daddy's favorite color was green. He wore it every day, so it was the only explanation. For the record, green is his favorite color. Time for the air intake. And now the squared off steering wheel support rod. Here's the black smokestack. Now for our last piece before we set these all aside to dry for a while. I'll get out my clay extruder to make the steering wheel rod. Time to make those big old tires. I've got some modeling chocolate for them. Click the eye above for a great tutorial on how to make it. I'll just work my way down with 3 different circle cutters to make the front and back tires. Smooth out those edges. The nice thing about modeling chocolate is you can merge the seams easily. That'll help me with the tire treads. I'll just roll some chocolate out thinner and then cut strips to make them. You'll see I just smoosh the treads onto the side of the tire. I'm going to keep doing that as well as add different tread marks to the front tires while we go meet my dad. If you were to ask my dad who his favorite people are, without a doubt he would say his family. He comes from a tight family, which often means you care for and help each other in ways that you're skilled in. My dad's got skills overload, and he shows his love through acts of service. Whether it's helping his brother shingle his roof, his niece install a door, or babysitting the grandkids, he's always available to help. This worked to our advantage when my dad turned 60 because we were able to throw him a surprise birthday barbecue bash, and he helped. My siblings and I had been planning it for months, and one of my jobs when I returned home was to kind of act like a prima donna. I just had to have the gazebo. So Dad got out the tractor so we could get the gazebo down from the rafters of the barn. When he put it together, we dashed into the house so we could work on other things. The day of the party, my sisters and I just had to have a spa day. We sent Dad out to the movies, lunch, and the zoo with my children who kept him distracted. You should have heard him laughing later when he started figuring out all the ways he helped prepare his party. The party couldn't have turned out any more perfect. The first surprise my dad saw when he came was my brother Brandon. He had scheduled to arrive that day for about a week's vacation, and my dad had no idea he was coming. It was pretty special. Dad loves his kids and grandkids. I remember one Christmas when we were young, he was in the barn regularly because he was working on some special gifts for us. On Christmas morning, we got the coolest gifts from Dad. Brandon got this beautiful red wooden barn that he could play with, and us girls, we got baby cradles for our dolls with our initials on the ends. I would tell my daughter Naya stories about the cradle and how special it was. One time when we went back to visit my dad, or she calls him Farmer Grandpa, she decided she was gonna find my cradle and bring it back home with us. He told her, "Just leave it here for a year, Pumpkin. I'm gonna fix it up for you." But he whispered into my ear, "I'll make her a brand new one just for her." Imagine her excitement and delight the following year when she found her very own cradle with her initial on it. Okay, we're gonna pause our story here, work on the cake for a bit, but hang in there because I have another great story about this hero. The tires are all done. Let's give the farmer his seat. And now for the steering wheel. I want to be able to really turn it, so I'm going to use a bead in the center that fits over the rod perfectly. I've got the outside part already made. I covered that bead with modeling chocolate. Now I just have to attach those two pieces. I don't like how two of those support bars look. Let me try that again. So much better. Set that aside until it's time to put all the pieces together. I'll use my edible marker to add the grill. Hey, that might be right. I wonder if I'll get any bonus points for proper names. Or maybe John Deere will hire me as part namer because of creativity. Finally, I'll add this part, the engine cap. Then we get to put it all together. Let's put our puzzle together. I'll add a dot of royal icing to each piece. Since they're so dry, this will work better for gluing than other methods. I've got to paint John Deere and Model A to each side. I tested several yellow paints I had and discovered the gold paint in this brush worked best today. I just pushed some out into my paint palette. We need to hear the last hero story, but did you know nothing runs like a deer? I'm gonna make the logo while I share the story. I had to cut out a template, roll out some fondant, and cut it with my knife. Then I'll load my clay extruder with fondant to get a nice clean border. Okay, John Deere hat wearing hero time. COVID has caused a lot of milestones in life to just pass by without much fanfare. This happened to my dad too. He celebrated 45 years of employment at RDO Equipment, a John Deere dealer. And then he quietly retired. I was always so proud of my dad, and clearly I still am. On top of helping thousands of farmers, my dad has traveled thousands of miles to do so. He helped to train other service guys so they would know how to fix equipment, and a Japanese farmer even flew him to Japan to fix his machinery. Like I said, my dad's got skills. Dad eventually became a service manager and later worked in field support, helping farmers to problem solve their equipment over the phone. When he retired, he said one of the things he was going to miss the most were the customers and those friendships and relationships he had built, in addition to knowing that he helped farmers get back into the fields. RDO was a great fit for my dad, and he left some pretty big shoes to fill. I'm super proud of him. Let's go finish this cake. We're so close now. This is the time I always start getting excited. I'm gonna elevate the tractor frame with skewers, but I'll cover the tips with modeling chocolate to camouflage them. It's far better to build these supports into the decoration way back in step 1, but I want to bring this tractor to my dad next time I see him. This will make it easier to save it. Alternatively, I can glue it to the skewers with royal icing. Skip ahead to the last back tire. To finish the tractor, the steering wheel. Add a quick grass border with tip 233. Now for the final touch. Dad calls all his girls Pumpkin. We started fighting over that title anytime we hear him say it to someone. One of us will yell out, "I'm Pumpkin!" I'll add a pumpkin in the field so he doesn't forget. I'm Pumpkin. It's gotta have depth to it, so I brushed some petal dust on it. Here's the final product. Hey Dad, this cake's for you. My hero rarely takes his hat off. I think that means he's in superhero mode pretty much all the time. And if you know my dad, you probably think so too. I wish we could have thrown him a proper retirement party, and maybe in time we can. In the meantime, this cake and these stories are in honor of and dedicated to my hero, my dad. As always, if any of these stories ring true for someone you love, turn around and dedicate it to them, because we're all about loving others here. If you haven't met my grandma yet who raised this John Deere hat-wearing hero, click right here. Otherwise, I'll see you in my next video right here. Bye, friends.